You know, I never thought a regular Friday flight home would turn into a story I'd still be replaying days later. But here's how it went. One of those moments that creeps up, grabs you by the shoulders, and demands you decide right there who you're gonna be. Tanya Whitfield wasn't new to the grind, rushing through Dallas Love Field, laptop bag digging into her shoulder, brain already half home, half stuck on her client's impossible demands. All she wanted was a quiet seat, preferably by the window or at least on the aisle, just a sliver of peace before life snapped back to routine. But fate likes to stir the pot, right? She gets to gate C-17, squeezes into her boarding group, and settles into 18C with a sigh that was half exhaustion, half finally. The plane's filling up, the usual parade of folks grumbling about overhead bins, and Tanya's zoning out when suddenly there's a shadow blocking the light. She looks up. Here's this white guy, mid-40s, no-nonsense haircut, blue shirt tucked into his pants like he's reporting for a mission, and right beside him, a tiny girl clinging to a worn-out bunny. The dad doesn't bother with pleasantries, just, "You're in our seat." Now, Tanya's not new to travel. She double-checks her ticket, polite but firm. "I'm in 18C, right?" He's holding his ticket, glancing at his daughter, and then, like it's the most natural thing in the world, says, "My daughter needs to sit there. She's sensitive. She doesn't do well sitting next to strangers, like you." And just like that, the temperature in the cabin drops 5 degrees. He doesn't look at her. Not really. It isn't about comfort or convenience. Tanya knows this drill, knows what it means when someone's eyes say you don't belong, not here, not in this seat, not in their way. She keeps it calm, offers options. There are open seats in the back. Maybe the flight attendants can help. But he just digs in, won't take no, says he paid for that seat and doesn't want his daughter in the back. "She can sit here in the middle," Tanya offers, "and you're welcome to take the window." He doesn't budge, his voice rising, hoping volume will force her hand. Passengers start glancing over, that nervous, uncertain hush where everyone knows something's wrong but nobody wants to get involved. Tanya refuses to move. "Your discomfort isn't my responsibility." Her voice stays level, her hands don't shake, but inside, her heart's pounding, and she can feel the tension building, like the moment before a thunderstorm. The little girl shrinks behind her bunny, looking like she wishes she could vanish. And then here comes the twist. A flight attendant slides in, poised, silver hair pulled back, name tag reading Marisol Vega. She's got this calm, been there done that energy. "Is there a problem here?" she asks, polite but direct. The father launches into his version. "This woman is refusing to move. My daughter's uncomfortable. We always get this row." Marisol listens, then checks Tanya's boarding pass. "You're in your assigned seat, Ms. Whitfield," she says, then turns to the man. "If you'd like, I can check for another arrangement for you and your daughter, but 18C is hers." He pushes back, voice sharp, frustration bleeding into entitlement. Why is it always people like her who get protected? Tanya holds her ground, repeating that his daughter can still sit with him, but she's not moving. Marisol's voice stays soft but firm. "Sir, if you'd like to escalate, I'll need to inform the captain." That does it. He sits down, jaw clenched, pulling his daughter close. But the damage is done. The cabin's humming with this weird, electric silence, and Tanya's pulse is still racing, but she gives Marisol a grateful nod. As boarding continues, it's like everyone's holding their breath, unsure whether to look away or lean in. No one says anything right away, but you can feel eyes glancing her way, not accusing, just witnessing. Then, a woman across the aisle, probably late 60s, shoulder-length auburn hair, leans over and whispers, "I saw what happened. That was something. I'm sorry he treated you like that." Tanya manages a grateful smile. The woman adds, "Some people carry their ignorance like luggage they refuse to check," and lets it hang there. It's enough, more than enough, just to be seen. Not everyone feels that way, though. A guy up front mutters, "People always looking to start something," loud enough for Tanya to catch. She's heard it before. Pretending neutrality is wisdom, like doing nothing means you're above the fray. Meanwhile, Marisol moves through the cabin with the same unruffled energy, but every time she passes Tanya's row, her eyes linger, just a little longer, a silent check-in. A little island of support in a sea of tension. Douglas Hanley, the dad, doesn't say a word. His daughter sits between them, quiet, small, lost in her own world. Tanya tries to lose herself in her phone, but her mind's running laps, replaying the scene, the way the man's voice carried, the way the girl shrank, the way nobody said much but everyone was listening, right before takeoff. That same woman across the aisle stands up and asks Marisol if she can switch with the little girl. She shouldn't have to sit next to him. It's an act of quiet solidarity, and Marisol helps make the switch happen without fanfare. As the new seammate, Janice, buckles in, Marisol crouches to the little girl's level and asks if she wants ginger ale or apple juice. Ginger ale, please. Marisol gives her the drink with a kindness that softens the whole row, and suddenly the tension isn't quite so suffocating. But here comes another twist. Marisol steps up to the intercom and makes a gentle announcement. We're a diverse airline. Kindness and respect go a long way at 30,000 feet. Thank you for helping us make this a welcoming space. It isn't dramatic, but you feel the ripple. The guy in the back gives a single clap. No one joins in, but the message lands. Douglas sits stiffer than ever, the air around him colder now, his sense of control gone. Janice leans over to Tanya. That's what you call grace under pressure. Tanya smiles, and Janice adds, sometimes the right people know silence is part of the problem. Tanya's never been one to seek attention, never wanted to be the lesson in someone else's story, but today, there was no shrinking. Not when a kid was being used as a prop for someone else's discomfort. Not when someone decided she was the one who had to move. Later in the flight, Marisol circles back. This time, she crouches down beside Tanya and says, I wanted to thank you. I've seen too many people give up their seats just to avoid conflict, but you stayed. That matters. Tanya's throat tightens. Thank you, she whispers, and Marisol gives a small, meaningful nod. Neutrality just keeps things broken, she says, then stands and heads off. It's quiet for a while, a softer kind of quiet. The air's cleared, the weight shifted. Janice makes small talk. The girl sips her ginger ale. Douglas stares at the seaback, and Tanya lets herself breathe for the first time all day. But right before landing, a man with a badge appears, airport operations, here to speak with Douglas about a possible disruption at boarding. Douglas doesn't have the bravado anymore. He just nods, eyes down. Janice looks at Tanya and murmurs, looks like Karma Fly's coach. 2. Touchdown. The plane rolls to a stop, seatbelts click, and everyone scrambles to grab bags, re-enter the chaos of the terminal. Tanya waits, not out of politeness, but to let herself move on her own terms. Marisol pauses beside her. Take your time, she says. I'll wait right here. Outside the gate, Tanya sees Douglas stopped quietly by airport staff. Nothing showy, just a few words exchanged. Janice catches up at the baggage claim, gives Tanya a gentle hug, and says, that man may not have heard you, but everyone else did. People remember things like this. Tanya sits, lets the moment settle. Her phone buzzes, a text from her mom. You home yet? She doesn't answer, just watches the bags tumble onto the carousel, the familiar rhythm of travel returning. But inside, something shifted. It would have been easier to move, to let it slide, but she stayed. Not to teach a lesson, not to win, but to not abandon herself for someone else's comfort. Later, home in her small apartment, Tanya pours a glass of water and thinks about Marisol's words, about Janice's kindness. About the little girl who might remember that day not for the shame her dad tried to cast, but for the woman who didn't flinch. She types a note to herself. Sometimes the seat you don't give up teaches more than silence ever will. She's not posting it, not today. It's just for her. And if you've ever sat in that kind of seat, knowing you could move, knowing it'd be easier, but choosing to stay, know this, you're not alone. Dignity doesn't wait for applause. It just is. If Tanya's story struck a chord with you, stick around, share your take, because sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that remind us it's okay to hold your ground, even if your voice shakes. That's how we make a little more room for each other. You know what I mean?